Good morning, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm Chuck Bardron with the University of Georgia Center for Invasive Species and Ecosystem Health, and Karen Rollins, also with the University of Georgia Center for Invasive Species and Ecosystem Health, is online, and we're going to talk about some updates to EDDMapS Florida and the I've Got One smartphone app. Um, all the audience is muted, and so any questions you can do through the question box, and we'll respond to those as appropriate. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Karen, and she's going to go through a PowerPoint. Then we're going to show the smartphone apps, and then jump on the web and kind of have any discussion questions we need from there.
Good morning and welcome. Okay. So this is the EDDMapS homepage. If you look over to the right side under projects, you can see a lot of the different groups that we're working with and that we've created smartphone apps for. And this is one of the pages you can come to, whether it's the EDDMapS homepage or whether it's the EDDMapS Florida homepage, where you can click here to go directly to download the smartphone app to your phone, either Android or iPhone. This is what the Florida homepage looks like. And here you have contacts. You can download the app, as I just said. One thing that you see here is your My EDDMapS page. So once you've created an account in EDDMapS, which is free to do, you will have your own EDDMapS page that has your statistics and your dashboard to run through, and we'll see that in a minute, and also your most recent reports available there quickly and easily. It shows your partners. You can report sightings directly from here, and the tools and training page, which we'll show you a little bit later, has a lot of information and tools that you can use there. So it's fast and easy to use. Talking with the smartphone app, no GIS knowledge is required. However, you can use the data going into EDDMapS for GIS projects. And the difference with I've Got One app from other apps that we've created for other regions basically are the species that are selected to report. And you can report all taxa. So reporting invasive species in Florida. And again, creating your free app, your free account. Here's the form that you fill out. It's a very simple form. The online web form is based on the North American Invasive Species Management Association's mapping standards. And this looks like a lot to do, but only the very top portion of this is actually data that you're entering specifically about the infestation or about the invasive species. The center part where you see the map, that's for location information, and that map is a Google map, so that most people are familiar with that. That makes it very intuitive and easy to use. And then the bottom section, you can upload up to 5 images with your report. With each report, if someone else is taking pictures for you, you can give them credit. There's a place there, photo by, that you can put their name. And at the very bottom, if you collect an herbarium specimen and submit it to an herbarium, there's a place there to put that information. A lot of times, if it's the first time that species has been collected in a county, you want to collect an herbarium specimen if at all possible. So beginning at the very top under the pest, the name of the pest, you just start typing either scientific or common name, either one, and it will automatically pop up a drop-down list for you of the species that begin with that. And just all you got to do is start typing in the first 3 or 4 letters. So you don't even really need to know how to spell it. So this is what that top section looks like. And so you've already got your pest in here. You've already typed that information in. It's automatically going to default to the date that you're entering the information. If you hover over the question, any of these question marks, it gives you a definition. For example, gross area over here is an estimation of the general area of the infestation, but may include areas that are not actually occupied by the species of interest. So if like a 5-acre field may only actually have 2 acres of that field covered with the invasive plant, for example. If you're going to use the map below to enter a polygon for your site, you don't need to fill in the infested or gross area. The infested area will be automatically generated when you enter that polygon. You've got drop-down lists for habitat, for abundance, for canopy closure. Canopy closure is very simple. It's low, medium, and high. A habitat, there's many choices for you to choose from, and abundance, there's about 4 or 5 choices there. So like a single plant or a single occurrence or a dense monoculture, and everything in between. Your plant description, you fill in what you know, what you can see, and there may be, if it's a large infestation, all of these things may be relevant. This is the map or the location section. When you type in Florida, and then, or not type it, when you choose Florida and then choose your county, it will automatically pop you to the center of that county on your Google map that's just to the right of those entry areas. You have some choices here. Your location description, what you want to put in there is anything that would help someone following behind you at a later date find that infestation. And if it's a really large infestation, that might be really easy to do. But if it's a small area, then the more information you give them, the easier it's going to be for them. And latitude and longitude, you can type those in if you've got a GPS unit or some other way of collecting that latitude and longitude data. You can type that in here, but you don't have to have a GPS unit to do this. You can go to your Google map. So you've already been, you put in your state and county, so you're at the center of the county. Just move your Google map around to the area where you saw the infestation, zoom in to the point, and it's going to, if you choose a point, then it's automatically going to generate the latitude and longitude for you. The more things that get filled in for you, the better I like it. So at the top of the map screen on the left-hand side, you see a little hand, you see a little balloon, you see what looks like a zigzag or an N, and then you see a little polygon next to that. If you choose point, if it's the single tree, for example, or a single animal that you're entering, you can choose the point, and again, that'll generate your GPS coordinates. If it's around a fence line, if it's along a riverbank, if along the coastline, along a roadside, and a line is more appropriate than a polygon to describe what that infestation looks like, then that's what you would choose. Click on that, and it lets you draw a line to delineate your infestation. And then for polygon, you can drop as many points as you need to, 3 or 23, it doesn't matter, to outline exactly where the infestation is. And again, when you do that, it's going to automatically generate your infested area for you in the just above the form here, and automatically generate your lat long as well. And ownership, there's a drop-down list, different ownerships, and be sure to remember if it's private owner that you want to if it's a private owner, be sure that you've got that owner's permission before you're collecting data on their land. So the bottom of the web form is where you can add your images, and again, up to 5 images. So you can add the caption. So if it's fruit, flower, the plant, the infestation itself, then we can that can be added. And again, you can add the person taking images if it's someone other than yourself. You don't really need to add your name in there if you're the one taking the pictures, unless you just want to. Again, here is where you would add information if a voucher specimen is made and where that voucher specimen is located, which herbarium you send it to. And back on the tools and training page that we'll look at a little bit later, there's information on how to collect an herbarium specimen and how to mount an herbarium specimen and how to create a label for an herbarium specimen. So there's a lot of information like that on the tools and training page. This is what your dashboard looks like, working with our technology gurus here. I'm a biologist, so I can use these tools, but I definitely don't create these tools. So they've taught me this is called a dashboard. And so you can see over on the side, this is actually my dashboard. So you can see, you can click on your reports, and that will show you all of your reports. What you're seeing reports here are simply your most recent reports. You can download your information from here. You can create alerts or edit your alerts from here. You can look at your own profile and edit your profile from here. So this is your personal entry into EDDMapS at this point. If you go out and collect data, one of the quick and easy things you can do is on these reports, you can just copy and then paste these directly into an email and send that to your supervisor or whoever needs to see, the landowner, whoever needs to see the information, and they can actually click on view, and it will take them directly to that record where they can see the notes that you made, they can see the coordinates, they can see the images that you uploaded with it. So new reports and how they're generated from the web forms, such as the one we just looked at, from the smartphone apps, from embedded web forms, so where these are someone else's website, but they've got the web form entered and that data goes into EDDMapS. From bulk data, like Alaska submitting 1 million reports to us in bulk, thank goodness, not one at a time. So if your group does have bulk data somewhere, you do not have to enter those one at a time. Rebecca Wallace is our EDDMapS database coordinator, and she can help you get that into the EDDMapS database. So new reports, when we get a new report in, first the determination is made, is that a regulated species or not a regulated species, and this is all an automated process. So if it's regulated, it automatically generates an email or contact to the state or federal agency, whichever one or both that's concerned with that. If it's not regulated, then it's verified in some form or fashion by a species. You may have someone who says, okay, I'll just verify reptiles, or someone says, I will just verify plants. It may be a certain location. I'll verify invasive species for this county, for example, or maybe a certain project. And we have verifiers at all different levels, state verifiers, SISMA or CWMA verifiers, county verifiers, and so on. If there's no verifiers in an area, Florida, that's not an issue for Florida, but if that was the case, then it comes to us to verify. So once a report is verified and released, that can generate those user alerts that I mentioned earlier that you have set up, so that you know when Kogon grass, for example, is reported in the county next to you. So you know, okay, it's coming this way, we need to be on the lookout for it. It can be used to create maps of all different kinds that can be used in ArcGIS, custom maps, Google Point maps, state or county level maps. Can be used for data feeds for different things and to different websites other than EDDMapS websites. So therefore, reporting invasive species, we know smartphones do more than ever before. So in your hand, you're carrying, used to, in your huge backpack you had to carry around to collect data, you had your camera, you had your GPS unit or some other kind of unit that's collecting that kind of data, your notebook and your field guide. All of those things, your field guide, camera, notebook, and GPS and distribution maps are all included in the smartphone app. This is what it looks like for I've got one. Okay. And we're going to go through this more quickly because this is something that we're going to actually look at live in just a few minutes. But just I do want to point out that if you don't know what an animal or a plant is, it can still be reported. And if you do know what the animal or plant is, but it's not actually on the list, it can still be reported. And you would just put in the notes section the name of that plant or animal if you do know what it is. And again, we're just going to scroll through these. I do want to point out that this is the field guide part of it. So you've got images, you've got a description, and these come from the Florida card deck that was created there. So this is where that information is coming from. This is what the map looks like. This is a real-time map. You can actually click on one of the balloons and it will take you directly to that report. So you can actually read the report, read the notes that the person put in there. You can see who reported it and so on. So that information might help you determine whether that particular infestation has been reported already or not. This is what the actual form looks like on the website. You've got your camera there. On Android, you can upload 5 images with each report, and that little mapping icon we'll look at in just a minute. But you've got your smartphone here, so it's already got your name and so on in it. It's automatically generating, you've already chosen the name of the species. It's automatically generating the date and time, automatically generating your lat long for you. There's a place for you to put in how long it is spent, whether you're a master gardener reporting how much time you spent on something, or you need to report how much time is spent on something for your supervisor or to a landowner to show the time you've put in. That's quick and easy to do here. If it's outside of that time range, of course, you can add that in the notes. You can add how many acres or square feet are here, but if you're going to hit the map icon and use polygon, then you don't need to enter that because it will automatically be generated when you enter that later. And then as you scroll down on the screen, you'll see where you can enter canopy cover, and again, it's just low, medium, or high, and also a place to do notes. I have found through experience that I like to use the text-to-speech on my phone because it's much quicker than trying to type everything in when I'm adding notes. And if I use short sentences, I can use big words like riparian, and it gets that and does a good job on it, but I usually have to use short sentences. So I can use 25 of those, but just one short sentence at a time, and it tends to do better with that. It does have to learn the accent, though, not that I have one. You can also enter negative data, and it can be a combination of more than one species. So you can enter as many species at a time. And again, your time and the area surveyed can be documented. And it's just as important to know where something isn't as to know where it is. So if you've done a survey and an area is free of these animals, or it's free of privet or Brazilian pepper tree, then you can make a note of that. So if you choose your map icon, this is the screen you come to. The first screen, you're going to choose point or polygon. So if it's one tree or a small infestation, you just choose your balloon, and that's generating your lat long. If it is a polygon, so if it's a larger infestation, that's what you're going to choose. And your choices there are freestyle or vertices. And you see the little trash can there. So if you make a mistake or you decide that's wasn't correct, then you can go back and redo it. So using vertices, again, you can use 3 points or 23 points as you need to create your polygon. And for me, this is magic here. You can also choose freestyle and then just draw it on with your finger or a stylus directly onto the screen. We've created apps for invasive species, forestry, and agriculture. This is the advanced query tool. This is also found on the tools and training page. And this is one of the ways that you can go and pull out data. If the only data you're looking at is your data, you can do that from your dashboard, your My EDDMapS page. But if you're looking at all of the data from any reporter in a particular area, you can do that here from the advanced query tool page. And you can do multiple species at the same time. But it gives you a variety of ways to search and pull data. These are what some of the maps look like, and there's actually, we'll show you that in a little while, there are actually more ways to use those maps now than even the Excel, KML, GPX, or shapefiles. And again, this is how and you would use those in a GIS project if you needed to. One of the things we have available, if you've created your map, that map can be shared in a variety of ways to another website, for example, or to a blog you're doing, something like that. So if you want the static map, that was the kudzu bug map that we just looked at, you can do a static map, and then the map that you're seeing would never change. It's just the one you copied, and that's all it would be. However, if you choose the second one, the dynamic map, then as data is updated in EDDMapS, the map is also updated. And then a link directly to the map to the website that it's found on. For example, here, the kudzu bug website. So that link would take you directly to the website. So whichever one is what you need. Some updated statistics for EDDMapS, or up-to-date statistics for EDDMapS. 2.7 million records, including 1.7 million point records on over 4,700 species with almost 8,700 users. And we actually have 28,000 registered users, but of those, we've got about 8,700 active users. 10 million hits last year, almost 8,800,000 visitors, and multiple submissions every day. And this is, I think, really interesting, showing the change over time. So when we first began using the smartphone apps, most people were still entering the data via the website. But look how it's changed over time. Each year, it's increasing the number of reports we get from smartphone apps, and Android and Apple, or Android and iPhones, are about equal, and decreasing the number that are entered via the website. Once you've entered records via your smartphone app, you can always go to the website and edit those if you need to. So average is about 42 reports a day from the web or smartphone apps for 2015. But the most reports we've had in one day was 274 reports by 43 reporters, and that was on July 21st, 2015. But we've had at least one report every day so far this year. And there's 11,533 reports from a little over 1,700 reporters. This is an interesting stat to look at. These are the top 10 states reporting the number of reports this year. And one thing interesting to note is that each and every one of these states have a very active citizen scientist program. So it is making a difference. And again, citizen science is very important: outreach, education, training. And this is being done across the U.S. with different groups. We'd like to say thank you to all of our partners and to our staff. And these are the guys that help to make us successful. The fact that we have in-house, accessible, right next to us, or in the office right next to us, is our IT staff. So it allows us to fix problems very quickly and to complete projects very quickly. And here's our contact information for Chuck and for myself. If you have any questions about anything that we talk about today or in the future about the website, about species that are included in the website, species that need to be added, or about the smartphone apps, you can contact either one of us. I'm going to turn it over to Chuck now, and he's going to talk about the iPhone smartphone app.
Assuming I can find my cursor. So give me a second here. We're going to switch over first to the iPhone app. and just show you some of the, Karen's mentioned some of the features, but just want to kind of make sure everybody's familiar with it. Right now, the way things are broken up is you have your animals and your plants off the first screen. When you click on, let's just say, an animal, and you go to, there's different categories. You can go to snakes, for example. You can look at information by clicking on the I button, and that shows you both pictures as well as information about the species, and you can view the distribution map as Karen mentioned previously. You can also add that species to your list in the app, and so what that does is when you go down here to the My List icon, it gives you a short list of species. So you can jump, if there's a certain species that you report a lot, you can jump very quickly to those species. Going back to the list, if you choose a species, let's say cocoa yam, and click directly on the species, then it takes you to the reporting form for that species. I think I'm going to go back to it. Well, and Karen showed you, and we'll show you on the Android app, how you can draw the polygon straight onto the app. GPS isn't working on the simulator. This is also sortable by common name or scientific name. You can just click here to switch back and forth. You then also have the all species list that you can scroll through or search for a particular species. In the future, we're probably going to have a way where you can actually report any species, and there'll be a connection back to the web on the report form that will allow you to choose other species than the ones included in the app. Right now, we're limiting the species just to limit the space the app takes up on your phone. Karen mentioned the negative survey feature, and we'll show that in the Android app. But what it allows you to do is, so let's say you're going out and you're surveying a pond, and you get out there and you were looking for giant salvinia and water hyacinth and hydrilla, and you didn't find any of those species. Well, then you can select those species, put how much time it took you, and then you can go in and draw a polygon of the area that, and I'm just going to do this out in the middle of the ocean, but of the area that you were able to survey. And then, since I didn't save that one, going back, once you create your record and you go through and you put in the information about it, and you hit save, it's going to remind you again to take a picture, because it's always a good idea to take a picture. But when you go back to the main screen, now you've got one record sitting in your upload queue. And so there that record is. You can swipe to delete that record. You can also click on that record and make edits to the record as well. And both the positive and negative records would show up on that. We do have a feature that's in the works for a later version of the app that will actually let you choose which reports you want to upload, so you don't have to, so you can upload certain ones. If there's others that you want to go back and make edits to before you upload, then there's going to have that option, but you're also going to have the option to upload everything. With the last version of the app, we added push alerts. We've only sent one push alert, and that was back during the Everglades Invasive Species Summit. But we do have the ability now, if you allow it when you install the app, to do push notifications. And so if something important, if there's a new species found, or a certain time of the year you should be looking for a species, then we have that ability to push alerts out to the users. Finally, if you hadn't used the app in a while, previously you had to log in before you could do pretty much anything. Now you can do everything except for actually submit the upload queue um, with the um, through the app, and then once you try to upload, it's going to say, "Hey, you're not logged in." And so if I went to upload now, it's going to say you must be able to log in. So if I can go in, log in, or I can actually register right here through the app, it will create my account for me and then log me into the app. Just so I did have a question a little bit earlier about deleting an app. So, I mean, deleting a report from the upload queue. So at this point, you just swipe that way and hit delete, and the record is out of your queue. What we recommend is that you wait until you get on Wi-Fi to upload the records, and then that way you're not using your data plan, and you are and it'll go a lot faster. But some of the issues early on with the app and taking a long time to upload have been resolved. There are some other options here. Probably the most important one is the feedback link, which is in both apps. That feedback link, when you click on that, then it is going to give you create an email that's going to go to the developers, whether it's the iPhone or the Android. And what's really important here is it tells us what device you're using, whether it's an iPhone 5, 6, 4, whatever, what version of the operating system you're using, and what version of the app that you're using. So it's a good way to give us some information, especially if you're having a certain problem. This kind of gives us all the information that we need to know to help diagnose that problem and recreate that problem. So that's really the gist of the app. We're trying to make it as simple as possible and as easy to manipulate as possible. I'm going to move this one out of the way and pull up the Android real quick. Got to turn the GPS and the camera on. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Good. So Android, and we're just going to do this quickly because I want to show some more stuff on the website, and then Karen's talked about some of it. There's minor interface changes just with the differences between trying to align with the style guides for the Android over the iPhone. You can see the information buttons a little bit different. The tabs are across the top as opposed to down at the bottom, which is kind of standard for an iOS app. You have a star here that will add or remove it to your favorites. And then again, you have this point or polygon option. And as Karen mentioned before, you can simply sketch on the device to draw a polygon. That's a really cool infestation right there of that cane toad. Or you can drop points to do a more square kind of polygon. And so it's going to store that. It also stores the centroid point that goes along with the record. You've got the upload queue, very similar to what we had before. When you click on it, it pops up this queue actions and then gives you the option to edit or delete the item. So very, very similar, just a little bit, minor differences based on the operating system. And then you also have the feedback link as well, and the push alerts have been added to the reporting form. One thing that doesn't come up very often, but I do want to mention is, so when you take a picture, you can choose to take a picture, and that will bring up the camera, or you can choose a picture from your gallery of images. One thing that's important is it is reading the GPS of where you are at, not the GPS of where the picture was taken. So if you do upload a picture to go along with the report, make sure it is the picture of the current location that you are at. Um, but sometimes you might be able to snap a picture real quick with your phone especially of an animal, save it, on your phone and then go back and upload it. But do that fairly quickly afterwards because it's not going to read the GPS encoded in the picture. It's going to read the GPS of your current location. Is there anything else you want to mention with the apps, Karen?
Again, you can collect a lot of data and it'll save it to your phone. So waiting till you get back to home or the office and uploading it via Wi-Fi, as Chuck mentioned, that saves your data package. The other thing it does is save your battery. If you're in a location where your service isn't that great, your phone may have trouble uploading it, but if you tell it to upload, it is going to continue trying to do that. And that can run your battery down pretty quickly. So waiting till you've got Wi-Fi is just a good idea. And also I want to stress taking images of any infestation whenever possible. I mean, of course you want to be safe, but if it's at all possible, include images with your report because that is enormously helpful to any verifier looking at that report later. Because what the verifier is doing is backing up what you're telling them. They're backing up, you said this is privet, they're going to back you up on that. And if they've got a picture to look at where they can verify that for you quickly and easily, because we're going to be getting, and you can see that we're getting more and more reports all the time. So that is going to become more and more critical as time goes on. So add an image if at all possible.
So I'm going to start going through some features of the website that we didn't show in the presentation, but there's about 12 people on the call right now. So if you have a question and it'd be easier for you to ask it, then one thing you can do is raise your hand. I can unmute you, and then we can address the specific question. One thing that you can do now, and so I just went to this recent Burmese python record. You can pull up, you can see the picture of this obviously large python. You can see the location that it was found. What you can also do now is you can do this revisit option. Not as appropriate, obviously, with animals as it would be with plants, but with the plant you can go in and revisit. And so what this is going to do is, let's say the original record was, I cannot go in and edit Ann's record, but what I can do is if I was on this site later and I saw it and this climbing fern infestation had really expanded, from what the infestation was when she collected it on September 2nd, then I can look at it. I can go in as a revisit, and it will tag. I can add new pictures to it and show, well, hey, did I do a treatment this day? Did I do more of an evaluation? What did it look like? What was the infested area? And then that is tracked over time. And eventually what we're going to do is change the colors of the points on the map to based on whether it's just a positive record, whether the record has been treated, or whether it's not found at the time of the revisit. So using that revisit system as a history over time of what the status of a species is. If we go to the distribution maps, Karen mentioned these briefly, but we have this list of species. We can break it up by growth habit, but we can also choose a species. Let's just choose mimosa. I went back. Let me go back to the Florida page. So we pull up the species. We were looking at mimosa. If we click on the county map on Florida for mimosa, it's going to take you to a map just of the counties in Florida, showing what counties are currently positive. There'll be another map that will be available with a link here soon that will show both counties that are positive based on current observations, as well as counties that are positive based on herbarium records, or counties that are positive with both. And so that's going to be a new map that's going to be added soon to the system. You have the download options for Excel, KML, GPX for Garmin, or shapefile. You also can download this by clicking on this as a JPEG image. And so making it very easy to drop a map into a PowerPoint presentation. That was a feature that a lot of people had asked for. Going to the point map, again, is showing using clusters, and then you can click on the point, click on more information, and it takes you to that full record with the information to go along with it. There's also a GIS interface that integrates with the ArcGIS server. This is something that is still we're still working on. The ArcGIS recently went away from the Silverlight format, which was the way this map is being created, and is now using an HTML format. So this map look will change in the future. We also have this list view where you can go in and just, hey, I want to see all 3,000 records of mimosa in Florida, and so here's just a list of the records, and then you can actually search these, based on just looking at different reporters and jump quickly to those records. Species information is just kind of an add-on, and I'm just going to quickly show an example of what that looks like. But it just takes you and lets you see some information about the species. We've added this jump to on the side to let you jump down. So if you want to see the pictures, you can quickly see the pictures of the species. We're also showing some static maps where the species is listed, where it's listed as a weed, who says it's invasive nationally, and then taxonomic information to go along with it as well.
Clicks directly to.
Yeah, and these take you to those full lists as well. As well as other resources, different publications that may be available that have information about this species. And then for most species, we have a short overview of that species. The tools and training page is where that advanced query tool is that Karen mentioned previously. We have a way now that you can view invasive species by congressional district. So if you want to do a report to show what species are found in a certain congressional district. So Florida 17, here's all 200 species that have been found, sorted by number of records. If you just wanted to focus on plants, you can break that query down, and it will just show you the ones for plants. You can also search for an individual record, and so this could be a very good tool to kind of show the problem to a congressional, to your congressman. What the data collection form, where we've got a new version of this, is going to be available on the website today. We're trying to get up yesterday, and it didn't happen, but it should be available today. We've also got this handbook that we produced a few years ago, but we've actually looked at it a few times, and it's still very relevant. If you are doing some kind of training, then we have copies of this available that we could send you.
And it's also free to download.
It's also free to download the PDF. We've also got a very quick 2-page overview of the smartphone apps, and we're working on a more detailed version of this that's going to be available soon as well. I'm trying to think any other. Yeah, so another thing that we have is these kind of fact sheets on just kind of how do you, if you're collecting plants, how do you collect a herbarium record for a plant? How do you mount it? Good information, especially when you're looking at a first species in a county to focus on and make sure you submit. And then we already looked briefly at the My EDDMapS page, but this is where you can manage all your records, see some statistics of how many records you have, and then go in and make edits, deletions to your records you submitted in the past. The About page is pretty comprehensive with frequently asked questions. And so, usually a lot of things can be identified there, but we've also, you can very quickly go somewhere and get a link to more information. So with that, I am going to pause, stop talking for a few minutes, and we'll see if there's any other questions that people may have about something we may have not covered. And then if not, we can wrap up. And thank y'all for coming.
Also, if you think of a question after this is ended, you saw mine and Chuck's contact information. Rose also has our contact information, and it is available on that About EDDMapS page, as well as on the Bugwood homepage. And you can contact us with any questions or concerns you may have, or if species need to be added and that type of thing.
And we do have a deadline of Monday. If you want certain species added for the upcoming Halloween kind of plant survey period time, then please send us those by Monday at the latest, so we can make sure that the smartphone apps are updated with the latest species.
And we've got about 14 species that Greg sent to us already that we will be adding. But please send any other species you want added. And if they're already on that list, I'll let you know. And if they're additional, then they can be added to it.
And if you come up with something down the road, it's always something, just send us, and as we publish the next version, then they'll get added. So. Stay on for a few more minutes, and then see if anybody else is quickly typing away on the questions. And if not, we will wrap up. Thank y'all again for spending the time this morning to learn more about EDDMapS.